Hey everyone, welcome to another AI conversation, and I'm joined today by Eman, uh, electrical engineer who I just met on
Iconic.
LinkedIn when we were talking about RAG, no? So anyway, sige Eman, for maybe the two people who don't know you, can you give us a bit of a background and what do you do? And then let's start talking about AI, no?
No, it's actually my first time on a podcast, so thank you for inviting me, Doc. I, I feel honored lah. Si Doc Likot parang invite sa akin. So I'm an electronics engineer, so I started AI when ChatGPT actually released. So after passing the board exam, I'll delve into a few different ideas. So, parang tapos ka na mag-board, di mo alam yung anong gagawin mo. So, fortunately, may family business kami. Parang di na ako naghahanap ng work. Parang doon na ako nag-focus sa aming family business.
Mm-hmm.
Tapos, I delve into startups as well. Like parang nag-join ako ng mentorship program sa DTI, yung Startup Island dito sa Region 7. Parang mentorship program siya.
Okay. Okay.
So meron din akong mga experience na kuha doon, tapos a few grants. So sa like cloud credits po yun. Malaki din eh, 2,500 pesos, parang $5,000 po yung nabigay ko. So basically, I can build anything I want for free.
On
And
the cloud, basically.
yes, on the cloud basically. So I had a few ideas there. Like I started with a financial management tool as my first idea. Then ChatGPT came. So like parang madami talagang madami talagang na na change pagdating dun sa ChatGPT
Yeah.
kasi parang madami na mga application, pwede ka na mag ganito. So parang doon na ako nag-transition to like AI, large language models, doon na po.
Nice. Nice. Okay, sige. That's really good to hear because we can talk about geeky stuff though. And so maybe a little bit of maybe we can dial it back to that moment when you first used Chat GPT. What was your basically your insight, no? Kasi matagal na rin naman may AI, 'di ba? And I keep telling
Matagal.
people it's been around, pero in a way it's also changed. So from your perspective, how did you start getting into it, and what was your instinct on what to pursue?
You're right, Doc. That's a really good question. Kasi, chatbots like really common na yun. Parang meron ng mga chatbot na automated na yung mga process. Tapos, hindi ko nga alam, nakalimutan ko yung first ko nag-try ng chatbot is during elementary, parang magpa-prank lang, ganun. Tapos, when I tried chat GPT, parang, like, parang iba din kasi parang it can hold a conversation, mga ganun. Hindi pa alam ng mga ano yun, wala pang hallucinations doon. Parang, wala pang guardrails din yung ChatGPT. Parang, yun nga, mas smarter nga yung ChatGPT doon, pero yung talaga is like it can actually hold a conversation. It amazes me it can do that easily. And
Mhm.
they said like ChatGPT didn't solve like AI and stuff. They solved a UI problem kasi
A
accessible
UI
na sa lahat.
problem. Yeah, okay.
Oh, accessible na sa lahat. So madali na lang kahit yung lola ko, sinabihan ko nga kasi journalism yung lola ko, pinakita ko lang, madali na ngayon gumawa ng mga articles. Tingnan mo, na-amaze din siya.
Yeah,
So,
you're
doon.
correct. Kasi in fact, I think it's worth repeating. GPT and Chat GPT are the two different things, diba? So the
Mhm.
GPT is the GPT-3, GPT-4, before GPT-2. These are the underlying large language models which predict
Mhm.
text. Pero the Chat GPT is an interface that allows people to ask questions. So parang in a way, parang it reformats your inquiry into something a text generator can
Compared to
finish.
Google search, mga ganun.
Correct. So yeah, you're right, no? Many people kasi kind of conflate it kasi madali naman sabihin, oh, ChatGPT, large language model. Nope. ChatGPT is an application on top of a large language model. And then yung large
Yes.
language model is GPT 3.5, GPT-4. And then there are other large language models then yung Mistral, yung Llama 2, and
So,
Perplexity. Actually, Perplexity is also another UI on top of OpenAI yata. And then you have
okay.
Google Bard na Gemini na ngayon.
Imagine.
Yeah. which isn't
Mm.
doesn't feel much smarter than Bard actually.
I agree,
I've been
agree.
using it past few days no, since it came out. Parang it's
Mhm.
also as dumb as Bard sometimes. No? Anyway, sige. So back to you. So you got into ChatGPT early, and then you said you started looking into applications. So what was, I mean, can you walk us through that? Ano ba yung mga naging experience mo?
Di ba, when you first try ChatGPT, parang usually like generate an article, mga ganun pa lang.
Mhm.
Doon kasi sa amin, meron kaming business, tapos mag-post kami ng social media. So
Mhm.
parang madali na lang namin doon. Parang siya na talaga magpo-post mag-brainstorm siya kung anong content. So it guides you kung anong content na ipo-post niya.
Yeah.
So doon talaga nagsa-start like mga generation na mga functions. Then, like as ChatGPT became like meron ng ChatGPT Pro. So madami na talagang mga features sa ChatGPT. Binigyan nila lang search.
Mhm.
Tapos doon nag-subscribe din ako sa ChatGPT. Then meron ding yung dumating din yung image generation. So like parang overwhelming talaga yung features na dumating sa like wala, really like it can do this. Kaya nito, ganun. So
Yeah,
like
yeah.
so I think my first impression like going along the way sa like actually interacting with ChatGPT is parang it really overwhelms and yeah, it can do a lot of things.
So what was your instinct? Kasi there, with a few exceptions, there isn't naman a lot of training about it. Although now more
Uh,
and more people are putting something out. So when you started out, how did you get how did you get started? What information did you consume? And then we were talking offline about
no,
yung where the state of the art is now is yung retrieval augmented generation. So how did you get
yes.
into that? No.
Uh, Parang intuition na yun as an electronics engineer sa akin kasi I see like ChatGPT or GPT in general, yung mga large language model as like parang black box din siya na
Yeah.
magbigay ka ng natural language ng input, tapos magbigay siya ng natural language ng output din.
Mm-hmm.
So, depending on your configuration doon, parang makokontrol mo siya, ma-align mo siya na ito yung i-output niya.
Yeah.
So, doon sa akin, okay, I've experienced this before, like transferring information from one place to another, then transforming it into something different, something useful for my use case. So, okay. So, parang similar din to sa mga electronics engineering fields sa amin. So, yung ECE nga, yung titingnan namin is yung mga bits, mga numbers talaga. And ito na, meron na tayong like parang actual technology na kahit natural language, like makikita talaga natin yung anong input natin, yung anong output din natin.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So you say intuition led you to explore, and then now you're doing
Yeah, I'm
RAG.
doing
So maybe for the people who don't understand what it is, kasi I feel that even the people who are doing it also don't
uh,
understand exactly what they're doing other than playing around with mga apps, no. So from your perspective, can you run us through what is RAG and why we do it? And then
okay.
maybe walk us through how do you get started with RAG for those who want to get into it.
Okay, so for everyone, like I'm sure nga nakatry na yung madami dito ng ChatGPT. So if you try ChatGPT, like mag-query ka doon ng anong latest news ngayon. So of course, that's one example.
Yep.
ChatGPT cannot answer that information kasi parang noon hindi siya ma-answer pero ngayon mayroon na siyang feature, but for the sake na ChatGPT lang alone is kapag magtatanong ka niya ng mga latest na mga news, mga ganon, so parang wala siyang access na information diyan.
Yeah.
So the reason why nga you need to retrieve new information and show it to ChatGPT because it doesn't have all the information. Ang ganon. So the AI undergo training. So of course, the data in it goes stale. Tapos, ganon. And swerte ngayon kasi meron ng search feature yung ChatGPT. So pwede na makasearch ng internet. That's a form of retrieval as well. So but basically retrieval is like getting information from one place to another, showing ChatGPT or any AI or large language model na, hey, this is new information. I need you to do something with it. Generate this, extract this, mga ganon, summarize this. So, for the sake lang, yung example ko, Doc, is ChatGPT. Kasi I think a lot of people already interacted with ChatGPT.
So in your RAG applications, do you use the Chat GPT or GPT 3.5 as your generator? Tama ba?
Yes, I mainly use the lower cost model. So the technology behind ChatGPT it's basically GPT, generative pre-trained transformer, and it has this. I think the most performant model is GPT-4,
Mm-hmm.
and the least performant model, which is the cheapest, is GPT 3.5.
Mm-hmm.
So I mainly use GPT 3.5 in my applications in RAG.
And it's not too bad, no? GPT
It's not too
3.5.
bad. Actually,
Uh,
it's not too bad.
a lot of people want, like I was recently conducting a master class no, on prompt engineering. And I want to talk to you about that also. And may isang participant, GPT-4 ang gamit niya. And
Oh,
he said, why is your output much longer using GPT 3.5 than mine? No, I'm using GPT 4. And I
uh,
told him in class na, you know what? The only time I really use GPT 4 is when I need uh, to upload a file for GPT 4 to analyze, kunyari mga Excel files,
oh,
and then perform some analysis. Or when I need GPT 4 to search the internet.
mm,
If I don't need GPT 4 to do that, I just stick to 3.5 and nagulat siya. And sabi ko, that's why prompt engineering is actually very important. Kasi it's how
yeah,
you craft the prompting. And let me know if you agree with this, no? RAG is essentially prompt engineering. Kasi
yes,
you're adding a context eh.
totally. Mm,
And I noticed na, I don't know if this is still true for the most part, in the early days when I was trying to promote prompt engineering, honestly, a lot of people parang downplayed it. Kasi parang, I
I
don't know
agree.
what they're thinking, but maybe you can read my mind, no? Parang, ang dating kasi is, why should I study that? Isn't this just asking chatbot
Mm,
questions or ganyan? So I make a big deal of it. And honestly, ito rin I get that a lot from the data analyst and data scientist people, no? 'Di ba? Yung mga data engineer, I think they're half and half, no? Pero the data scientist, data analyst, they don't even wanna touch prompt engineering. Yung mga
Ah,
iba, not all, yung mga iba. Kasi parang they kind of think it's beneath them. You know, this is what I think. No, I don't know what they're really thinking. But when I see how they're using GPT, yung chat GPT, super babaw. Sabi ko, most of what you see on the internet is actually zero shot. No,
zero.
parang ask a question, nothing. No,
Mm,
but the secret to it is really adding a context plus then asking
something.
and that's what the RAG does, no? So is that correct? Kasi baka ako lang yung nag-iisip ng ganyan. Is that how you also see it in terms of the relationship between prompt engineering and and
Oh,
RAG?
kasi parang nagpa-prompt ka na lang. Yeah, yeah, I really agree with you kasi parang the entry, like parang yung entry point sa prompt engineering is parang walang, ano, pwede lahat kahit sino nga makagamit yung makagama ng instructions. Pwede talagang
Mm.
gumamit ng prompt engineering ganun. Pero if you want to like maximize like the performance of the large language model, ChatGPT, ganun, like you need to actually understand kung paano siya, paano kung baga, how will you talk to it to get
Mhm.
the right answer. Kasi yes, I agree nga, yung mga prompt engineering ngayon parang few shot lang kasi it's either maybe people are lazy to actually type.
No, I think
Kasi,
just to react to that, I don't think they're necessarily lazy. I just think
okay.
they're ignorant, no? And I'm gonna say this in this podcast. Most people think prompt engineering is just searching or asking a question on para kang nag-search. It's not, no? And ito pa yung nakakainis, and this is just me. When you review the literature on prompt engineering, no? In fact, you
Mm,
sent me some, they don't capture the essence of what prompt engineering really is, no? At the best, meron yung concept of chain of thought prompting where you ask one
mm,
thing and then you ask another thing and it parang piles up and then the chatbot becomes intelligent. That's only one way of doing intelligent prompting. Ang dami pa mga iba. And they're not necessarily captured by the literature, although minsan nahuhuli nila. And I feel na there has to be a better way, parang taxonomy of doing this. I actually one training that I found really useful. I don't know if you took this. Yung kay Andrew Eng, yung ChatGPT for
Yes.
developers. I love that. No, I don't know if you
Like,
saw that. No.
Andrew na, yung
Sa ano,
learning.
deeplearning.ai.
Oh,
I don't know
oh,
if, did you take that? Kasi
I
doon
took
may
the
mga
few,
different.
yung short courses nila, yung nakita
Yung
ko
short
lang.
courses, I
Oh,
found that really useful. In fact, some of it was based on that, yung mga summarizing a prompt, extracting information. Yun talaga yung prompt engineering. Pero kulang din eh. Dami ko pang na-discover, partly on my own and partly through research on
mm,
other ways of prompting, no? Parang, and another powerful method that I deduced, no? I can't say I'm the first, pero mukhang hindi siya documented as such, is
mm,
there's a big opportunity combining kunyari mga chatbots, not just limited to ChatGPT by the way, it can be many. Um and mga standard, business frameworks, no? Like do a SWOT analysis, no? Or
oh,
do a pestle risk analysis. These are like proper parang mga frameworks na that exist in literature, business literature. And malamang na-ingest na yan ng ChatGPT given all
oo
of
nga.
the text na. Pero if you don't ask for it specifically, hindi niya sasabihin.
Dapat
So I find
explicit.
that such a
Explicit na.
parang low-hanging fruit eh. Sana people knew about that. Pero
Oo.
mukhang hindi. So in your case, do you agree? Or how did you approach the question of prompting and prompt engineering in your journey? No? I'm curious.
I think kasi we know, like, in short, in summary, parang the longer you instruct ChatGPT, like the better it answers.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
the reason why chain of thought, so parang lilalaki niya yung instruction para like it allows parang the AI to use its parang like back end yung AI, yung parang ma-unlock mo talaga yung parang latent space niya doon.
Tama.
So ito talaga yung like parang first process ko, okay. So kapag short lang yung prompt ko, okay, ito lang lalabas. Pero what if like parang detailed, really explicit? So of
Mm-hmm.
course some methods don't work, but like in like I think the like if you summarize everything, the longer you structure your prompts, like it's better compared to like just asking it, please generate me this. Please generate me that. Pero
Oh,
like if
most
you,
people do it that way, diba? And then I have of course, we can always look into the kind of the structure of models, no? To deduce why this works. Maybe that's another research paper waiting to be
uh,
written. Pero I feel it's because of the nature of a transformer din kasi, 'di ba? It works on the basis of text embeddings, 'di ba? Yung and then uses
yung, yung
attention
attention
to
mechanism.
connect it. Very
Mm.
abstract idea. Pero at the base of it, embeddings are positional eh, 'di ba? Parang
Okay.
positional coordinates, no? Let's say on a map, no? So when you put a prompt, yung prompt mo, merong position yan in that latent space. And depending on how much text you put, the accuracy of that position varies, no? So yung isasagot lang ng chatbot is anything within proximate of
Oh,
that position. Is that similar to your understanding? And so the more you feed it, yung position niya gets better and better. Mas gumaganda tuloy yung sagot ng chatbot. And it's hard kasi to visualize it as a two-dimensional thing.
oh nga,
Kasi
parang
kasi yung embedding
multi-dimension.
ilang ano yun eh.
Oo,
150 data points yata yun at the very least. So that's like 150 dimensional coordinate, no, which is really hard to
grabe, no?
to understand, no. Pero
Oh,
kaya ang ganda ng reply pag maganda yung prompt. Ganyan din ba yung understanding mo or is that how you figured it out?
yeah, yeah. Like, yun yung paraan ko para, like, I actually arrived to that solution kasi if, like, kung ganito lang yung ipo-prompt mo, so okay. Ganito lang din yung ano. So, yun yung ChatGPT na nga, nag-introduce ng mga features like system message. So, parang i-mold mo muna yung ChatGPT.
Mhm.
So, you're a physics instructor. So, okay, parang meron na siyang connection doon sa latent space niya. So, lahat ng mga sasagutin niya, parang related doon. So, doon talaga,
Yeah, and
if,
then ano rin eh, just to deep dive into prompt engineering, no. Many people assume the prompt engineering ends with a single prompt. That's also
uh,
wrong. Kasi
mm,
the chatbot will remember your previous conversations mo. That's why Unless you save, kalimutan mo na yung mga nakita mo kanina and then it
Oh,
will
that's a
ignore
different
it, di
story
ba?
when you include
Oo.
memory and everything.
So, there is value in creating that chain of prompts.
Mm.
Whether, and I don't think you need to be so super rigid, pero just on a two-step chain of thought, ang dami mong magagawa eh. And
Oh,
kasi, I don't know, the way I understand it, it's like compound probabilities, no? So for example, if you have a 50% 50-50 probability on one level. And then you have now a second level with also
okay. Yeah,
50-50.
I
Di
agree.
ba? Di ba parang ganun ang dating, di ba? So you
Oh,
compound that, you now have four possible outcomes. Eh, ito, you have ang daming possible outcomes. You create a prompt, sasagot siya, and then you do a follow-up. It's like you
oh, maganda.
compounded the power of that.
Oh,
It can be very, very specific, no? So, I don't know if that's really how the math works out. Pero intuitively, that's how it feels. Eh. Kaya,
no.
if you do
Yan
multiple
yung,
prompting, ang ganda ng labas, no? Ganun din ba
oh,
yung ano mo, nakita mo?
oh, yes, yun yung experience ko, yung stacking different prompts, so kumbaga prompts. So, kapag ganito, meron kang certain instruction nito, tapos output siya ng something, tapos
Mhm.
gamitin din siya sa next stage, tapos text. Then of course, although compounding din yung parang benefits, meron ding mga hallucinations na compounding din.
Yeah,
So,
that's actually true, no? Pero yun na nga eh, when you do contextual prompting, it actually, for me, eliminates hallucination. And you know what? Sige, we step back ulit. The term hallucination for me is a misnomer
mm,
because arguably everything is a hallucination, 'di ba? Kasi it generates data eh. Nagkakataon lang, sometimes the hallucination is factual as far as you're concerned. So the only time magagalit ka lang is if the hallucination doesn't agree with your definition of truth or your worldview.
mm,
Mas feeling ko yun yung nangyayari. It's not a question of sometimes the answer is correct and sometimes it's a hallucination. I'd rather think of it as everything is a hallucination. And occasionally, it's hallucinations you don't agree with. Parang gan or parang another analogy I love there is ano eh. It's like music. You know, you have a piano or a guitar. You can bang at the instrument any which way, but there's only a small sliver of what we would accept as music.
oh,
The rest is noise. So parang ganun yung dating. Hallucinations are just the noise. Occasionally, it comes out with a coherent music and that's what it is, no? Would you agree or disagree pag mga ganyang ano? So that sometimes that's how I try to decompose it eh.
yeah, I agree with that, Doc. And I think like the better you like the technology we have right now is parang, so although they're random, like actually a probabilistic output, like yung mga words ni attention and stuff. So like parang control mo talaga yung probability. Like, and the best part is natural language lang.
Sure.
So, oh,
Mm.
like that really amazes me on like we have that power right now. Like I'm born in this age, like can actually like prompt something and it gives a reliable output.
Yeah,
So,
reliable hallucination, no? Okay.
like
I also have an observation and let me know if baka I
um,
got it wrong. Na math problems are the worst place to use large language models. So anything
uh,
that requires it to count anything or parang Jill has three apples, yung mga ganyan. And then John takes one apple. How many
um,
apples does Jill have left? Nabubokya sila kasi
oh,
in my mind, that's actually not a very good way to phrase a problem. Parang what I heard was the better way to do it for now is to ask ChatGPT to or any chatbot to convert that into a code and then solve the outcome of the code, no? Parang ganun yung dating. So I don't know, how do you understand that? Kasi ako, I just advise people don't use these chatbots for math problems. If you want to do a math problem, use a spreadsheet, no? Or use a mathematical tool. Itong mga to, these are language models. So they're meant to solve language problems, no?
language talaga.
So parang ganun. Anong tingin mo doon?
Yes, na-try ko din yung mga examples na ganun para mga logic na examples. So, kapag for example, John took the apple and what if John put it in a box and if the box has a hole in it, so where is the apple now? Mga ganun nga
Mm.
mga questions. I think yung mga researchers din yun yung nagtitest talaga ng limits ng large language model within that use case. So parang may mga data set sila, parang mga benchmark sila nga questions na kung kaya ba talaga ng AI doon. But like, if with regards to like numbers, like a large language model, like the name in itself, it like parang sa language talaga siya, so din mahirap din niya.
Yeah.
Oo. Kasi like yung solution nga ng OpenAI ngayon is nag naglagay sila ng feature na ano, yung code interpreter yung sinabi mo. So parang instead of the AI computing the problem like mathematically computing, so they use an external tool, maybe Python, another code interpreter. So then yung output din dun parang then yun yung gagamitin niya to get the final response mo.
Yeah, I mean, yun na nga eh. I mean, it begs the question of how usable will these models be in a, let's say, a business setting or a corporate or even a
Say
education setting,
finance.
di ba? If we're
Oh,
limited to non-mathematical applications, I'm not saying we are, no? Pero kung yun ang risk, then we have a challenge, no? Pero sige, let's go back to your work. So, prompt engineering, in my view, is really what RAG tries to accomplish, but with a kind of a, I guess, an
external
external data source,
evidence.
no? So
So,
again, sometimes that kind of confuses people. So in your journey, how did you figure it out? And then maybe walk us through what's a typical base setup for a RAG project.
okay, so when I like parang for the sake of everyone, ano yung audience mo, Doc? Parang technical sila or mga ano lang?
Maybe
Medyo,
there will be technical people listening to this now,
okay,
no? But maybe in general, if we try to
okay.
explain what RAG is, how do we do it?
So of course, like I think most people already tried drag na. Like
Mm.
they ask ChatGPT, they copy paste maybe their document for a social media post. Okay, let's say it's for a social media post. So let's say like I'm sure like everyone knows about like sharing information. So if you want ChatGPT to generate a certain information, para okay, let's say for example, latest news lang po. Okay, maybe there's some news here, yung ano, and parang let's say news article lang to. So
Mm.
copy paste the news article, put it in ChatGPT and ask it to generate something. That's already RAG.
Yep.
So that's the first level of RAG. And if you want to like take it another level, so parang you try prompt engineering in ChatGPT. So maggawa ka doon ng okay, while generating a summary, also extract the important details. Mga ganun parang like ita-type mo talaga yung anong gusto mo talagang makuha out of that external information. So and maybe for students, so let's say may bagong topic sila sa school, pwedeng i-copy paste nila yung external information, then ipa-prompt nila yung ChatGPT na mag-output na parang comfortable sila. Like parang okay, ito yung title, summary, parang mga main points. Tapos if math yun, parang mga formula sa external information na kina-paste niya. So basically like RAG actually is like really simple. Okay, get the information, boom, ask ChatGPT, and depending on what you ask, like ikaw na talaga bahala, like, then the output talaga. And depending on your prompt engineering, the prompts you ask ChatGPT, so it varies with the response niya. So, ano.
Yeah, so I mean, in terms of the concept of doing a retrieval, no,
Hmm.
can you talk about how that works and how did you learn about it also?
Okay. So, like parang if you delve with large language models na parang there is a need to actually retrieve information. Okay, of course, parang kapag hindi, okay, wala. Parang hindi na sakto yung sasagutin ng AI or ChatGPT or a large language model. So, parang nag-hallucinate na siya. So,
Mm-hmm,
there
mm-hmm.
is a strong need talaga to, okay, get the information, then ask ChatGPT or any large language model about it na to. Then, yun, dyan talaga magsa-start yung journey mo through RAG. Tapos, if parang marunong ka na sa ChatGPT mag-copy-paste ng information, gumagawa na lahat ng mga tao dyan if they're using ChatGPT. And like the next step talaga is like yung talaga yung maximizing how you instruct ChatGPT na to get your desired output and reliably too. So that's another topic din, parang paano mo mag-construct ng prompts to get a reliable answer or
Actually,
consistent
I feel
reliable
that
answer.
there's two, at least in my view, no, there would be at least two challenges. Of course, the prompting is still the most important piece in my view. Pero how do you also ensure that the retrieval works? Kasi, kunyari, kung text lang yan, I guess you could argue, you could probably yeah, I don't know rin eh. Maybe you can give me your clue, no? Kasi kunyari, let's say you have a book. How do you divide the book? No, you can divide it
Okay.
by chunks, you can divide it by chapter. Pero within that book are concepts, no? And unless the concepts are clearly identified, may or may not be identified. Kunyari, if I just chunk it by chapters, within a chapter, you can have many concepts. And that same concept could also appear in other chapters. So I wonder how the retrieval mechanism works. Na, kunyari, I don't know, let's talk about a history book. And we can do it, you can divide the history book siguro by era, no? Spanish history, American history, di ba? American era, Japanese era, and then post-world, then martial law, ganyan. So in a way, if your prompt is driven um by timeline, baka pwede. Pero what if your prompt was about democracy? So which era will the retrieval mechanism get, no? Is it when we already was independent from whoever, or during the Commonwealth, or siguro naman may concept of democracy even during the Spanish era, even if we were a colony. So yun yung ano ko eh, parang, and maybe by the way, baka hindi pala ganun din mag-isip si retriever, no? So ikaw, do you have a view on that and how you would address that?
I think I think we need to address also, Doc, na one of the limitations of large language models also is the context window. So parang yung limit kung anong i-input mo na language or text sa
Mm.
large language model. So yung pinakamalaki ngayon sa GPT-4 is parang it can handle a 192-page document. So you can copy paste like lots of resources there and ask ChatGPT about it. And like RAG is also a solution to that. Like how can you like handle large amounts of information, like let's say history books, so parang maybe 400 pages yun, mga ganun, like
Yeah.
different sources din. So how will you handle those types of information? Tapos retrieving the correct ones, so yung sinabi mo, so if for example, let's say a history book that's 400 pages, and our model's limit is just, let's say, 100 pages, for example. So we need to divide our history book into 4 parts. Okay, this part, and this part, and another part, and the 4 parts, and everything. So that's the basic, like, yun yung basic na RAG, like, actually dividing the book into maybe pages or like
Yeah,
chunking
kasi
them.
sige, tama. Okay, let's say it's divided by page. I think that's
Ah,
probably that's probably
that's
that probably may
that's
make
the
sense, no?
easiest.
Pero even within the page, you'll have parang spillovers, no? Parang ganun.
Mm.
Kasi mangyayari diyan, 'di ba? It will be converted into a vector and then embedded, no? And the vector
Embedded,
is stored in a vector database or a database. And then when you write a prompt, the prompt is also a vector that's then matched, 'di ba?
embedded.
On the similarity score or something, no? Dot
Mm.
products, parang ganun eh. So parang if I write a question tell me about Marcos, and the word Marcos appears in several pages, mahahatak yun kasi the vectors will probably rank those by similarity. Pero on the other hand, if I say, and then if I say, tell me about martial law, then yung mga martial law pages, maghahatak. Pero if it's a concept that cuts across many, many, many pages, doon ako medyo skeptical. Kasi, again, the word democracy can appear everywhere. Maybe the word terrorism can appear everywhere. The word revolution can appear everywhere. constitution can appear in several parts. I'm worried na and this is actually a practical problem, no? Kasi kung ano lang yung mahatak ng retriever, yun yung magiging context for the prompt, di ba? And then the output will be whatever that is. Paano if, for example, it's a structured data set? Have you ever tried doing that? Rag on a table or rag on columns and rows? How do you
Uh,
store that, di ba? Or is there a better way of processing that information?
I've tried structured information, but like parang short lang yung na table. So
Mm,
mainly yung Retrieval Augmented Generation ko is parang documents lang talaga. I haven't tried yet like to delve into like structured data,
mm,
but I think like parang yung intuition sa akin like as an electronics engineer, like yung goal talaga is retrieving the right information. Yan talaga yung goal. And bahala na, like we just need to present it to like ChatGPT or a large language model. Okay, this is the information that's really crucial to this problem or to this query. Like you handled it now. So like it gives us like the freedom to take information and just show it. Then the problems within those process, like okay, we need to like divide. For example, if it's a large context, we need it to divide it we need to divide those contexts or chunk those contexts na parang kaya din sa model natin. So
yeah, yun
that's
yun. So I wanna zoom in on that, no? Kasi I don't know if people are understanding this issue. It's one thing to chunk a piece of text. Kasi a piece of text will have some sort of a kind of a parang you can tag it, no? Depending on what the words are
Mhm.
there. And then that entire blob of text can then be ranked based on how relevant the tags are to the question. Okay lang yun. Pero in a table, each row, each column will have a meaning. No? Maybe the columns are months, and then the row is expense items, or the other way around. The rows are dates, and then the columns are debit, credit, amount. Parang ganyan. No? It's accounting something. I don't know how the language model will interpret that. No, do we need to inform
Oo nga, no?
the model into saying parang in a way you have to describe the data, eh, 'di
Oh,
ba?
like,
Oh, 'di ba?
oh,
Parang
you need to explicitly describe it. Oh,
so may protocol bago mo
no, no.
i-embed, no? So yun yung ibig sabihin. And then will the language model know to extract a column or a row or the whole table goes out kasi parang chinunk mo yung buong table. And assuming the table actually fits within the window, I guess kasha naman. Pero yun eh, I mean, I personally, I think it hasn't been explored enough, but I think that's a recipe for failure. Meron ako in that post that you reacted on, ano mo, see, there's another guy, there's si Stephen,
No.
and he said he avoided the problem by not using vectorization uh, for structured data. Kumbaga, parang may iba pa siyang retrieval mechanism na gamit, which is more like traditional search na
Okay.
like when you say
Like,
expense, hahatakin talaga niya yung expense table. So anyway, nakaabang na yan. Um, but then that works only if you know the table schemas ahead of time. No? If you're thinking
yes.
database like, diba?
So,
Alam mo na yung mga tables, good. Then may mahatak mo. What if you don't? No? What if it's just a brand new one? That's gonna be a nightmare, no? If you think about it. How do you put that all together? I don't know. Does that sound like a problem in your book?
that's really a problem. So, kasi like you're right, kapag alam mo na yung structure sa table, madali na lang. Though there are problems as well, even though nga alam mo yung structure sa table. Pero that's a nice question din nga, parang what if we'll show a large language model na hindi niya talaga alam, like maybe a random spreadsheet, ganun.
Mm.
So, I think
Or
yung
or 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 I don't know. Kasi may nakikita na ako mga papers about LLM time series, mga ganyan. So I'm wondering, baka naman hindi siya talaga a large language model problem, but
I agree.
it's still a transformer problem. Kumbaga you can use the same architecture but in a very different way. Kasi essentially these large language models, they really started with text sequences, di ba? That's how they originally started. Predict the next word after a series of words. So kumbaga may probabilistic outcome na if I say I love, probably you yung next, no? Because you've already reviewed the presence of you, and that's what attention is trying to do, 'di ba? Parang ranking the likelihood that the word you will be the next word. And now you expand that to a totally broad population of text. Nakakasagot na siya ng tama. And then you add the reinforcement learning component para nasa self-select yung tamang sagot kasi there are many types of questions. I kind of get that. Pero yun na nga, pagdating sa structured data, numbers, databases, I don't know, no? Like one application that I wanted to try, I had a student in his capstone. He was trying to apply some sort of a parang algorithm to financial markets, which is a
Okay.
popular target. Try to predict some stock prices. And sabi ko, I don't know if you can actually predict the exact level of the price per se. There's another method to do that, siguro. I mean, good old-fashioned regression is probably a good way. Pero if you want to predict relative sequences of price movements, if you can label that, gawin mong symbols, parang symbolic logic. So now it will be
Mm.
a sequence of letters. I think transformers are perfect for that, no? Parang you
Okay.
encode every sequence of possible price movements in a transformer, embed that, then create an attention matrix on that. Then ngayon, you just feed a new price sequence, and in a way, it'll give you some probable directions na, okay, mukhang aakyat given this, no? Again, I don't know. I haven't tried it. I don't know if others have tried it or maybe others are trying it. Pero it seems like that could conceptually work. Pero, I don't know, just haven't seen it. Baka may
Oh, that's
mga
really
nakikinig dyan
interesting
na
po.
gumawa na.
Kasi like what I'm thinking now is parang, okay, maybe let's train a model that handles those types of symbols dito. So what if it could handle like parang yun talagang for example, sa finance, maybe we can convert it to another form of text,
Data.
symbols,
Mm.
ganun, o
May
mga
ganyan na eh.
data.
There's an
Oh,
algorithm called symbolic approximation, no?
okay.
Or symbolic aggregated approximation, SAX, where parang para siyang ginawa niyang hindi naman abstract, ginawa niyang standardized yung level. So if you start at point A, it can go to B or C or D or E. So naka-label yung levels. So ang mangyayari, yung mismong price movement mo becomes letters para siya naging DNA. A, C, B, C.
Ah, hello po, Doc. Yung audio mo po, Doc. Ah, parang, Doc.
How about this one?
Ah, yes, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oo, so yun, parang you converted the what would be a number into a price level which is a letter. So symbolic. So yung sequence ng symbols ang maganda. Ang challenge ko lang doon is that assumes na yung price movement mo, if we're getting into some technicality, is within a bounded range, no? So
Mm.
you can label all of the levels. Eh minsan ang stock price kung saan pumupunta yan eh
Oh, real time. You need to have the
before
real
it
time
goes eh, no?
information din. Ganun.
Oo. And it's a relative level from the recent past. Kasi parang inflation rate lang yan eh, or the prices of commodities back in the day. We were measuring those in centavos and then pesos. Ngayon, we're measuring it in hundreds of pesos na. So there's a scaling problem that happens there, no, that defeats the symbolic levels. Or maybe I don't know, maybe it's just another level. Yun ang point ko na parang kung predictable sana siya like some sort of a sine wave or seasonal pattern,
Mm.
then masasabi mo talaga A, B, C, B, A, C, B. Parang gano'n, no? Medyo regular. Pero minsan yung mga levels ang gugulo eh. And it's gonna be
Grabe,
hard
Doc.
to
Like
to predict.
that's a really interesting problem to solve din, Doc.
Mm.
So,
Well, who knows? One
parang,
of the listeners is already doing it or they heard it.
oh,
Diba? Okay, sige. I think we're digressing a bit, no? So RAG, retrieval, um, so what are the lookouts, no, for people who are trying to do RAG? Kasi I'm sure that's really the quintessential problem for many companies, no? Kasi most of them don't want to use OpenAI for security
mm,
purposes. So they will need to download a model, deploy it locally, and then do some RAG mechanism, no? So paano yun? How does that work?
I think if we will do RAG sa mga companies din yung mga enterprise use case na I think OpenAI is offering parang enterprise models din nila. Yung, dun, yung sa Azure, yung kinoment din ni ano, yung Stephen sa post mo, parang
Mm.
gumagamit sila ng Azure na ano, OpenAI. Though, like, sa policy din naman sa OpenAI, parang di na naman sila din nag-train ng ano, data natin. Well, if we could trust them, but like, with regards to companies, like, trying out RAG, I think the easiest would be like using other source of information, maybe open source information, parang maybe a simple table to just like test it out. Like actually trying to maximize its performance. So parang okay, because it's actually RAG is actually powerful because you have some technology that can actually understand information or what you give it and the instruction na yung pinaprompt mo sa large language model. So okay, yung prompt mo tapos yung information na bago, parang para sa akin like that's a really powerful like feature, a powerful tool to like to actually scale to many businesses. Kasi currently yung goal ko talaga like sa large language models in general is like and my on my startup journey then is I've met two types of business owners that view chatbots in a way. So some business owners want to deploy a chatbot autonomously. Like ang yung for example, let's say sa Facebook page, like yung experience ko is deploying chatbot for a Facebook page. So, yung two na owners na meet ko is yung business owners na gusto talaga autonomous yung chatbot. So, basic FAQ questions lang. Yung isa is parang nag-oversee ng conversation. So, parang nag-analyze ng intent sa chatbot, sa yung mga customers' intent. So, parang may dashboard lang din yun. So, okay. Yung ano yung chinachat ni customer dito, ano yung intent niya. So, like, before ChatGPT, like it's hard to actually get the intent of a conversation. No, like now it's really accessible now. You just need to prompt na ano, the large language model.
Yeah.
Then like for starters, like actually okay, I think my camera is not doing well. Okay. Am
No,
I
no,
okay
I,
now?
I'm receiving it. Can you hear me?
Okay.
So, yeah, okay naman.
Okay. Yung I think for an enterprise use case is to actually first maximize it through prompt engineering because we just RAG is just the basically RAG is just retrieving information and asking ChatGPT about it. And although like it's a simple feature, like many will say nga, yun lang nun, parang maybe parang it's not really significant for them. Like kasi maybe they're doing different stuff in their company, but for me, like actually RAG is really, really powerful. And like things to look.
Is there a ano in your case in your view
Hmm.
uh syempre rag is the hot thing, no? Is it the actual answer to most problems, or would there be another approach that works better in the immediate ano kumbaga before you do rag, should you be doing something else? Kasi parang deep learning lang yan eh. When it first came out, everybody wanted to use deep learning for everything, no?
Okay. So, let's say, like, depende talaga kung anong intention mo sa brand. For example, like, in our business, like, I want to use RAG autonomously. Yung parang, kasi madami yung, may mga customers kami na balik-balik na yung mga questions nila. Parang repeated na. Although, you can use other forms to handle customer inquiries, like mga basic na like automated replies, but it's actually really different if parang, wait, I think my video is, it's
Yeah, I
gonna,
think you just disappeared from the video.
I
Yeah, yeah,
think
it works.
I'm using my webcam. Hmm. Okay, where was I again?
No, no, you
Ganyan.
were talking about what else, what can you do, in lieu of rag or before you do rag, parang ganun.
Oh, I think. So when ChatGPT came, look, I think the easiest nga ano, like parang pinakamadali na ano, you think about, okay, parang we can use a chatbot for a business. Mga ganon, chat PDF. Okay, parang my let's say the easiest thing we could apply RAG is through customer service. So nagsasagot lang ng mga basic FAQ questions. So mga ganun. I think if we frame yung question mo in terms of customer service, so if we don't use RAG, so let's say we'll hire an employee. Okay, let's hire an employee na ano, magsasagot sa mga customer inquiries. So and let's say yung meron ding of course, meron ding salary din yung employee din. But if we could use this technology, ano, we have this technology na try na natin, parang medyo accurate siya na magsasagot ng mga queries natin. What if try din natin sa ano, sa business? Because I deployed an AI chatbot for a business na ano, sa Facebook page nila meron sila mga 100,000 likes. So yung customer inquiries every day is maybe 10 to 20 people.
Mm.
Then yung na-meet ko na owner is parang sa gabi lang din i-activate yung AI chatbot din kasi I'm from Cebu kasi Doc. Then during sa mentorship program namin, may na-meet akong business owner din who handles like who creates custom cakes, mga ganun. So let's say for example, a customer orders a cake maybe 12 a.m. in the morning. So walang sasagot doon.
Mm.
So parang tulog si business owner. But what if we could easily apply an AI assistant like using simple prompts lang na to handle those like parang mga basic lang inquiries. So like that simple application nga meron ng sumasagot for the business. So, and hindi na naglo-lose yung sale kasi for example sa cake industry may nag-order online tapos walang sasagot. So of course they'll go move to another competitor.
Yeah.
So, ganun.
Hey,
Then
on that note, no, just thinking out loud, no, because the big question on everyone's head, let's zoom out, is will this really end up displacing humans, no? In your view, being the guy playing around with Ragno, do you see it happening, or how do you see it happening, if ever?
like actually though like I could see it happening right now.
Hmm.
Like let's say we'll use a much more expensive model that's more capable. So like it can actually like answer like customer inquiries. Then if you scale it to maybe a small business, so parang ano, maybe 100 people a day lang sumasagot. Tapos you really apply the best principles sa RAG. Like you can actually talk then tapos maglagay ka ng ano feature na bigyan mo ng parang may human handoff for like parang magbigay ka ng condition kung anong specific na intent sa human na mag-step in talaga yung actual na talaga na live agent. So that seamless ng process like that seamless the process na it can easily be deployed. Tapos, simple lang yung gagawin mo talaga. Maybe you can use a few automation tools. Like, it's really powerful for like a small business na to have that capability. Doc, like, I read a research also na they were trying to use generative AI in general sa workplace, and the people who benefited it are people na parang entry level lang. So parang they increase their productivity by a huge amount on the people na parang bagaw lang sila sa job. Yun
Yeah.
yung nakita ko na article.
Sige. So, I mean, yun na nga eh. Parang, of course, there's so many other things that goes into the kind of the strategy, when
Mm.
you get, I guess when you get large language models into a process. Kasi, kung text lang, okay lang sana. Pero, there's voice, there's emotion, and of course, depending on how good your connectivity is, the model may not even reply fast enough, which can be a broken process. Kaya I
Ah,
feel the more, I would say, likely scenario is humans assisted by AI. Kasi, and it may not be mission critical dapat. In other words, nandiyan ka na sa harap ng customer, that should probably not be the first place you put the AI. Kasi what if the AI gets broken and you train the agent to rely on AI, then wala na, sira na. You know?
Um,
So there'll still be a need for human decision making. That's why I'm not too bullish about that scenario pa, yung mga job displacement. It's actually hard to do, you know,
yeah, I
even
agree
with
though. It's hard
non-AI,
to
di ba ang hirap eh. Even with
mahirap
non-AI
talaga.
type automation, mga RPA, mga
Oo.
IVRS, even with those tools, we never actually eliminated jobs. We
And
we grew volume, pero the people were still around, no?
mm,
So, it's fascinating. Parang, yun, natatawa nga ako minsan. Either people assume LLMs are so dumb, or AI is dumb, or AI will then wreck our lives and kill us, or steal our jobs. Sabi ko, parang napaka-extreme naman nung, nung discussion. Baka, can't we just stay somewhere in the middle? There are some tasks AI can speed up,
mm,
but the task will actually free up humans for more work and volume, no? That's probably the likely outcome as opposed to yung the doomsday scenario. Okay, I just realized we're at the hour. We
oh,
barely
no,
scratched the
really?
surface.
Isang
Medyo
oras na ulit.
oo nga, ang bilis eh. So, maybe some kasi we certainly need to do a follow up, no, on this. Kasi RAG is really the place. Can you recommend some ideas on, where to get started? What if there's any training that you recommend people to take, mga ganyan, or resources, and then we can put those in the description also of the video when we launch it.
Okay. If you want a more structured tutorial, like mga ganon, like deep learning online, meron silang madaming short courses doon. Like parang you'll take a few courses, 4 courses lang. And of course, it's free. But if you want certificates, like for jobs na, then you have to pay for it, I think. But if you want more like parang hands-on approach talaga. Like if you want the actual experience of like doing RAG, like you need to look for information on forums, Reddit, maybe Twitter, like there are a lot of insights there. But if you just starting out with RAG, like YouTube videos, massive online courses, like of course free, are like it will like help a lot.
Tama.
Mm.
Okay, that's really good. And then what's the on your end, no? Is this the career that you're looking to pursue? Kasi I noticed na you're certainly not in the electronics engineering field anymore. Or is this I mean, part and parcel? Because I'm sure there's a lot of electronics engineers listening, no? What's your what's your recommendation?
I think like though I'm a little bit biased, doc, like I think electronics engineers are the best people who can actually become AI engineers because we deal with information like many
By
times,
nature,
like
no? By
by
nature, no?
nature. Like
That's your
we
job, no?
started with we started with electrons,
Oo.
atoms, magnetic fields into bits and bytes.
So this is
Then
just another type of
oh,
information for you.
that's another type of information. And the best part is you could actually understand the information, parang natural language lang. Then
Mm.
all you have to do is, okay, I'll put the information here, get an output. Okay, I'm gonna use output a different one. Okay, that's basically
You
it.
know, we should have this topic on which profession basically makes the best AI engineers. Kasi syempre
Oo.
in the analytics, data science space, yung mga namamayagpag dyan are statisticians, comsci, and then physics, pretty popular. And then
Mm,
of course the industrial engineers have something to say about it too because they're into process,
CS,
engineering,
DCS,
mga
mga
ganyan.
comsci.
But then, tama, no? Electronics engineers are actually dealing with not just systems, but also, tama ka, information, no? Interesting. I'm neither. I'm an accountant. So, or rather, I took accounting, but I never really became an accountant. I guess you just come at it from wherever. Probably, I'm closer to the economic side of things, no? And
I
then
agree. Your
come here.
questions are really on the finance side, yung mga tables,
Oo, 'di
structured
ba? 'Di ba?
data.
Parang gano'n eh, finance eh. So, that's why I tend to think of it as, paano ba 'to, calculation and math problems. Yeah. But anyway, it's great meeting you. I hope to have a second round. I'm sure maraming nabitin.
Ako nga.
Yeah, and until then, all the best with your projects. And I hope to hear. Actually, we were talking about this offline. Maybe we should do a geek out session where we just play with stuff and let
Meron.
and let people
Um,
come in. I don't know, maybe we should do it live, no? Para
Oo,
okay, tingnan natin ano nangyayari dito, no? And people will start talking about it.
I agree though. I think meron din akong like pinaka-biggest step din sa akin parang ginigate ko, Doc. I think if you deal with large language models, of course, may mga bills din. But like companies offering it like AWS, Google, Microsoft, they have this startup programs that offer you free credits. So I
Mm.
got my free credit on AWS. That's $1,000 of you can use it on their large language model. So on AWS, you can use cloud. On Google, of course, you can use Gemini, and Microsoft, you could use OpenAI there. So they have a
Even
really
on
generous
even on
application.
the OpenAI thing, maybe for the benefit of people,
Mm.
what's the expected parang cost to do like mga ano lang, mga experimentation? Do you need like a hundred
Okay.
dollars or something parang ganun? Kasi may yung GPT-4 may bayad na yun, 'di ba? But that's on the typical web interface, no? But if you're using GPT 3.5, uh what how much did you spend on average, no, for
Uh,
mga experimentation?
yung noon talaga when ChatGPT release, like nag-apply ako ng ano sa APIs nila. Parang may free generous din yung OpenAI noon. Parang may $18 sila binigay sa akin. Parang just to try the API out. Ngayon, you can sign up to OpenAI, use their APIs, and they'll give you parang $5 lang. And that's like a really huge amount if you use the lower models. So if you use ChatGPT 4, parang 1 week lang yung or 1 day lang yung $5. Mga
Mm.
ganun.
Mm.
But like I'm actually like parang it's really useful talaga if yung ino-offer ng other companies like they're really generous with free tiers like sa AWS is gonna give you $1,000 and that's a lot.
Yeah.
Like then in my career as an AI engineer, parang yung total I've spent a total of just $72 na from
Oo,
last
oo,
year
oo,
to ngayon.
oo.
So that's about now like I send you my document doc, diba? Pinakita ko yung calculations ko. So I think I've spent 24 million tokens
Wow,
and that's
Jesus.
worth
Okay.
$72. But I'm using a lower performance model, so it's
Yeah.
cheaper na. So,
So, sige. So, on average, ang magandang budget will be around what? Mga $100 ganun for
ganun.
mga
I think for
experimentation.
starters, $10 or $20 for like, or if you want to go to AI engineering is a lot, na. Then if
Aha.
you want to take it seriously and production and going through production, then that's where you move into the $100 range na.
Oo, tama, tama. Okay, sige. That makes a lot of sense, and I think that's what people will probably ano look for. So, yeah, no. Sige. Anyway, thanks for joining our podcast. I hope to see you again, and yeah, all the best with your projects.
Thank you, Doc.